Hey, everybody. Welcome to another segment of 90s Crime Talk with yours truly. My name is Steph, and who are you?
I was going to say I'm Steph. Oh my gosh, we're a little loopy tonight, but
You're
I'm Justine. Hi,
A.K.A.
Steph.
Neen. Hey,
Yes.
Neen. And
How's
I
it
forgot,
going?
well, it's going great. I just been tongue-tied for the past hour, so I hope that's done.
Oh my gosh. You're just so excited about today's episode that your tongue's like, hurry up already. Let's do this.
Thank you. I'm going to go with that. Thank you so
Yes.
much. But
Mhm.
before we even jump into it, I do want to say that this is a segment of Totally 90s podcast. This is the tree branch, one of two
Mhm.
of where we talk about 90s crime. The other tree branch is featuring the lovely Neen, and that is Fridays with Neen every other Friday.
Whoop whoop.
We're talking with
Yay.
Neen. So, yes, but
So exciting.
we are still totally 90s all the time. But yeah,
Mhm.
so before we jump into it, how are you? How was your day?
It was good. I don't even remember what I did.
Oh,
That's how
okay.
good
That
it
was
was. For real. And I don't want to know what I did because I don't think it was anything exciting.
okay.
Honestly, I don't remember. What did I do?
Well,
Oh,
I
I got my
know.
stupid nails done.
Uh-oh, what happened? Why are they stupid? Let me see. We have a YouTube. What is you broke it already? No.
No. They are so dumb. So I was supposed to go get my nails by another lady, but she
Oh, uh-huh.
canceled
Mm-hmm.
because of the rains.
Oh God.
So, I went and got them done because I'm impatient
Yeah.
and I had to fix them myself.
Uh, But they look good. I was like,
Oh
what's
no.
wrong?
No. So literally my nails were going up.
No. And you
Yes.
paid?
Yes, I did. I know. Tony's like, why did you pay? I'm like, I don't know, because I'm nice. I even gave him a damn tip. I can't.
Oh my God, my
But
nostrils are flaring.
yeah, I'm just so irritated. I should have gone to the lady. So I didn't so the lady I was supposed to go to, Shelly, that is her name. Um,
Adorable.
so okay, I'm real quick because I want to get into this. But so I should have just waited, not gone. I should have just waited until I saw her because I loved her stuff that I saw on Instagram. Well, I didn't. I was impatient because I wanted them done when we went away, right?
Oh, yes.
And the funny thing is that she's a really adorable lady, but she doesn't speak English. She speaks only
Okay.
Spanish. So
Hmm.
when I confirmed with, or I asked her, "Oh, can I have an appointment with you?" She's like, "Oh, do you speak Spanish?" And I was like, uh. And in my head, I'm like, "Thanks."
Fuego.
For real, I was like, "Hey." That would have been funny.
Oh,
And I was like, see.
oh,
And
I
I'm like,
hear.
so then I'm talking to her in Spanish, right? Via Instagram. And I'm like, and pretty much what I just told her, I was like, well, I speak Spanish and I understand, but with a lot of errors.
Oh my God.
And she goes, oh, that's okay. And I said, so she goes, oh no. So then we're going back and forth and stuff like that. And she's so sweet. And I was like, okay, this actually might be good. So the whole week I have been practicing in my car anywhere I go, like to anywhere. I was practicing a conversation of having my nails done in Spanish, like this whole dialogue, like pretending like Shelly was in my car talking to me.
Wait, and when you say you're practicing your dialogue, to tell her what you want done, or you're actually gonna chop it up with this woman? Because
No,
I
like
put my
chopping it
AirPods
up.
on. I go to the nail shop. I'm like, hey, I love that my guy, he knows I show him what I want. He knows that I'm watching Us for You.
Hmm.
He has a little phone stand set up.
Oh,
That's
love it.
that's it. I don't like the how's your day?
Yeah, see, and I just wasn't, I didn't know. I didn't know what I should do because I
You're
was like,
so
okay, because
cute.
it wasn't in a, it was like at her house. So it wasn't at like a salon.
So wait, hold on. So
So
where did you go then? Did you go to her house still?
no, no, because remember I couldn't go.
Okay.
So it got canceled. So I ended up going down the street for me.
Oh,
And that's why I don't go down the street because I can't guarantee who I'm going to get.
my
And
God.
this is what happens. I spent an hour this afternoon doing my own, fixing them, putting acrylic on myself. When I come back, I'm just taking these suckers off because I can't. And I'm just calling up Shelly and been like, hello. When can when can I have my appointment?
Oh my God, Neen. And how much was your nails, dare I ask?
50.
Are you serious?
It was a full
Uh-uh.
set.
And you yanked off the acrylics?
No, so what I did was because I was looking at the gel, the polish, and
Oh,
it was
okay.
like kind of like messed up.
Oh,
So I filed the polish, the gel off, and then
okay.
I shaped it, reshaped it, and then I put acrylic on top of the ones that were like that. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh, Neen. I'm
And I'm like,
sorry.
okay, I know it's not my nail beds because I've had my nails done correctly. I
Yeah.
mean,
You
I
just
showed
haven't
him the
found the, yeah.
picture of my nails. And I'm like, what part do you not understand? I mean, I was
Man,
so
I want to
upset.
go cuss this person out that actually thought to charge you and thought that they did a good job.
Yeah, I know. I was I don't know. I don't know. It's just a mess. Tony was like, today, yeah, today was just a bunch of it was a bunch of weird stuff going on. I
Oh,
dropped my
honey, I'm
cereal all over the
sorry. Oh,
sofa. I burnt pretzels brownies. Like it's just yeah, I mess. But that's okay. I'm really excited to be here.
oh my gosh. I'm so glad. Again, I know I say this every episode, but I'm so happy we have a YouTube because everyone can see how innocent you are, which is the perfect setting for what we're going to talk about today. So please, those of you that are watching us, please enjoy Neen's adorable innocence. And as you're going to
Oh,
need it, like a little warm blankie, because we're gonna need it tonight. Okay.
yes, we are.
Yeah, so let's do this. So I'm super super stoked. I know that's weird to say. I struggle with being a true crime fanatic even
Hmm.
saying that, but it's always fascinated me and all that. So that's where the super stoked comes from. But I
Well,
am
yeah,
super
because what do
stoked.
you say?
I don't
Right? I
know.
mean, what are
Like
you supposed to say? Other crime, podcasts that I've listened to, they too say the same thing. So you're
yeah,
fitting in perfectly.
amazing. Well,
Mhm.
yay. So I am, first of all, I'm super stoked because you and I are here together and we're going to talk
Yes.
about this case. And, I'm also excited for the listeners to learn about it as well, because maybe not a lot of people know about this case, even though, my God, it was everywhere. So,
I did not know about this case at all
well,
until you
because you're
told me.
pure, because you sleep on a lily pad at night. You're like,
Ooh,
so
that sounds comfy. The sounds, I'm picturing the sounds on a lily pad would be
okay, people, hang on to that
angelic.
innocence. Yes, angelic.
You're so
Yeah.
funny.
So today we're talking about the infamous Ken and Barbie murders. That's right. Ken
Wow.
and Barbie. And we're not talking Mattel, okay? This is a case that hails from where? Oh, Canada. You'll be surprised how many Canadian true crime cases there are out there. And it's like so shocking to me because like Canadians are so polite. And it's like, do you guys even
Yeah.
fight out there? Or is there robberies? Is there like, no, there's some crazy stuff out there. So
Wow.
we'll probably be covering a lot of Canadian cases.
That's
Because some,
exciting.
they come out from the 90s. So yay. But I mean, not yay. So anyways, this case it hails from Canada and it involves the murder of three teenage girls. So, and again, this case was dubbed Ken and Barbie because people thought, I don't think, but people thought that these two resembled the dolls because they're blonde, blue eyed, the whole nine. And maybe for the time,
Mhm.
let's do that.
Right.
Maybe for the time they were attractive. I'll give it to them. Okay. Like,
Hmm.
because if you take away the knowledge of what transpired, you could see, okay, he's an attractive guy, she's an attractive girl. But Ken and
Hmm.
Barbie, that's a stretch. So, anyways, let's
That's
do
for sure. Because they're the dolls that got messed up in the machine and were thrown to the side.
the ones that chill on the windowsill in the
Yes.
sun and melt. Yeah,
Yeah.
those.
Who like gets their hair chopped off by
Oof.
like a little 5-year-old? Like
Yeah,
they aren't cute. They're not attractive to me. And it's not because
yeah,
they did this. They're just
yeah,
not cute. They're not attractive.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but the sign of the times, because when you look at
Yes,
her picture,
her
especially, she's your
hair.
typical 90s,
Yeah,
blonde kind of.
totally,
Hmm.
totally. Before we dive in, though, we're going to give some trigger warnings. So, because there
Yeah.
is graphic descriptions of sexual violence, rape, drugging, kidnapping, pedophilia, physical violence, and murder. And let me just preface by saying there is so much out there when it comes to the details of these crimes, like details. Okay. I'm not going to go into very intense details, but I am going to talk about like some of the acts. So that's why we're giving the trigger warnings. If you want to know more, there's definitely a lot out there, but just so you know. Okay. So first, let's meet our contestants. So who the heck are these people? Let's start with Barbie. So Karla Homolka. Sorry, I have to say that. Homolka.
It's a tongue twister.
I say that 3 times. Was born May 4th, 1970 in Ontario, Canada, to parents Karla and Dorothy Homolka. So she had 2 younger sisters, both also very pretty, blonde, blue eyes, and their names are Lori and Tammy. So Karla, she appeared to be like this super bubbly, normal, well-adjusted girl. She's pretty, hence the nickname. And she was really well liked. She really loved animals, and she even got a job at a pet store. Later on, she would go to work in a vet's office. So she sounds great on paper, but behind closed doors, Karla and her siblings, they had to witness some pretty shitty stuff. So like their dad would get drunk and he would be abusive, and have like fights with their mother. I couldn't see anywhere that he was like physically abusive towards the mom, but when you hear drunk and fight, sometimes it just, the 2 go hand in hand. So maybe, but I couldn't confirm this. I also read somewhere that he allegedly had a mistress on the side, and wife she, rather than say get out, she was like, let's have a throuple, right? let's keep the marriage intact.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that's that. I don't know if the kids knew, but they probably know now. So that happened. In October of 87, when Karla was about 17, she went to like a pet store convention or a conference. And this is where like lots of suppliers would gather, show off their wares. And at a hotel restaurant, she catches the eye of a dashing blonde from across the room, who we will later learn who will be known to us as Ken. Okay. But before we dive into that meeting, let's learn a little bit about this guy. So buckle up.
For real.
Now, Ken, A.K.A. Paul Bernardo, was also born in Ontario, Canada, on August 27th, 1964, to Kenneth and Marilyn Bernardo, and he had 2 older siblings, Debbie and David. His childhood was not all sunshine and lollipops, though. His dad was an utter monster. He sexually abused Paul's sister, and he would do it in front of the family. Like, no fucks given. Sorry, this is explicit, so we're gonna cuss. Yeah, in front of the family. Mom knew. Wow. Mom saw. Mom dipped. She was like, I'm gonna go like live in the basement. She developed like severe depression. Yeah, that's
rightfully
understandable.
So.
But she also suffered from agoraphobia, when you're afraid of like leaving your house and all that. So she moved to the basement. She's like, I can't deal. So she went down there. I don't know for how long, but she was down there for a while.
She went down there.
Or up there, basement, yeah, down.
Oh my gosh. I can't.
Yeah, no. And but despite all of this, Paul, you would look at him and you're like, wow, he's just like this regular guy, good looking kid. He was even in the Boy Scouts. Okay.
Wow.
However, he started to slowly develop this like sick and twisted dark fantasy. Okay. Pretty like early on. I don't know. I think it was preteen, where he would create his own virgin farm to, breed his own virgins to rape. Yeah, that was one of his disgusting fantasies. Okay, so that's out there. 1981 rolls around, and Paul, he was dealt with 2 pretty hard like gut punches. First, he learns that from his mom that the man he thought was his dad, good old Kenneth, is actually not his father. Paul is actually a product of an affair that Marilyn had. And Paul did not take too kindly to this, called his mother a whore, To which he
Wow.
responded by calling him a bastard from hell. And that's a direct quote. Um,
Whoa.
yeah. And we later learned that this is a true fact. So,
And this is the
anywho,
lady that's downstairs?
yeah. Yeah.
Goodness. As if
Also,
your child hasn't been through enough.
yes. And I forgot to mention that when he was born, when Paul was born, he was born with like a black mark on his face. And I think it ended up being like a blood vessel that had popped.
Mhm.
But his mom took a look at her baby and let out a blood curdling scream. So this is the kind of
Wow.
woman we're dealing with. She
Yeah, for
basically
real.
she sees her daughter being molested by her husband, doesn't do anything about it. So she's not winning mother of the year by any means.
No, because just real quick, any mother
Huh?
that would witness an ounce of
Oh,
that and still stays with
mhm.
someone and condones that or doesn't say anything out of fear or whatever it may
Yeah.
be, I'm sorry, you are the devil and you
Scum of the
are,
earth.
yes, you are not a mother and you do not deserve those children at all. There's no
Here,
excuse
here.
for it because your motherly instinct should kick in and be like, okay, I need to get out of here. I don't
Hmm.
care if you have this agoraphobia, whatever it's called,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're downstairs in the basement, your ass is, hightailing
Yeah.
it to the US. Okay.
Exactly. Or those moms that the kid will go to them and get the courage to say this is something terrible is happening to them. And the mom's like, you're lying. Those
Yeah. No,
are
kids
just
don't
as bad.
lie.
No, kids are the most honest. Like,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Wow.
yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I can't.
But anyways, a little after this, after he found out that his dad's not actually his dad, his first girlfriend, Natalie, ends up dumping him for one of his friends. He didn't take this so well. He sets fire to all of the gifts that she's ever given him during the course of their relationship. And I'm
Wow.
pretty sure that Natalie was like, yeah, I made the right decision.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Heavens.
Yeah. So June 1982, Paul graduated from high school and he enrolled at the University of Toronto. Yes, he's still in Canada in the fall of 83. And a little interesting tidbit that I found out, another notorious Canadian murderer enrolled at that same university 2 years later. Russell Williams, he was in the Canadian Armed Forces and was a rapist and a murderer. So maybe we'll cover him.
Dang.
I'm telling you, Canada, what?
For real,
What's
they
going
have
on in
some
Canada?
secrets in their closet,
What's in the water?
right? What's going on, Canada?
Oh my God, we're
Oh,
terrible. So we're laughing. Oh my gosh. So
you're right.
Paul was a college student. Sorry, my dogs are barking. They think that joke was not funny. Sorry. So Paul was a college student and he also worked. And so because he was, studying and trying to make a living because
Mhm,
he had this craving to be like successful, rich, and famous. Like he would read books on how to get rich and
mhm.
famous, listen to books on tape, all of that. I saw this referenced quite a bit, so I figured it was like worth noting here.
Right.
Yeah, so he wanted to put airs that he was like that successful too. And you'll see as we discuss more, he acted that way and people
Mhm.
believed it. So, okay.
Wow.
So because everyone thought Paul was such a cutie, he was quite the ladies' man. He would go to bars, he would go bar hopping with his friends, and he would be very successful in picking up some of the ladies. He would
Hmm.
take these girls home, and rather than woo them, maybe light a candle, maybe put on some Sade, maybe try to be gentle, he would end
Right.
up having extremely rough sex with them. Rough. Okay. Any relationships
Wow.
that he would go on to have would be like really, really short because he not only was rough in bed with them, he was physically abusive as well. He got off on it.
Mm,
One of his ex-girlfriends, who was a high schooler and he was in college, so that should tell you something else. She
mhm.
reportedly stated that he would get extremely violent with her, especially when he would be drinking and he would demand and get anal sex. Like he would get, he would want to do that. And
Wow.
he would threaten women like, I'll kill you if you ever tell anyone, you know, what I've done to you.
Dang. Man, he was a prize.
Oh, he's scum.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's horrible. This, and even with these threats, some women did file requests for restraining orders. So some of
I
them
would
were like, I don't
hope.
give a, like, I'm gonna go say
Yeah,
something. But
exactly.
we will later find out that Paul was very, very successful in making people believe that he was a good guy. So
Mm-hmm.
hang on to that. So, anyways, Paul was extremely, like, very into rough sex, get off on it. But pretty soon it seemed that rough, somewhat consensual, but not really consensual sex wasn't enough for him anymore. So he began his quote unquote career as the notorious Scarsborough rapist. So I am not going to detail every single rape, but I will say between May of 1987 and July of 1990, Paul would go on to rape 11 girls between the ages of 15 to 22 years old. Um, this does not include the number of attempted rapes, because
Oh
he
my
would
gosh.
attack some women and they would fight him off somehow, or a bystander would intervene, because this wasn't like in an alley or anything. This was out in the open. This was at bus stops. This was in the front yards of these girls' homes, because he would stalk women to do
Mm-hmm.
this.
Right.
He would follow women. He would identify, like, he had a type. He would spot one, follow them around, get to know like their route, and then attack like their footsteps away from their front door. There was even like a report of him breaking into somebody's bedroom window and raping them while her family was there. Like,
Oh my
it's just
gosh. What
god
is,
awful.
oh my gosh.
No.
And he was known from a young age, right, to be a peeping Tom.
Yes, like his father, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he I don't know how he got again, unless I chalk it up to his looks. He looked like a regular, nice, good-looking kid and
Mhm.
guy. Like,
Yeah.
he really charmed everyone, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So yeah,
That's
and
so disturbing.
it is. And he would stalk these women with, like, while holding a knife. So he would stalk them at knife point, and at some points he would even use his knife to rape these girls.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
He,
Real quick, I
yeah.
heard something and I don't know if this is true, but because it's crazy to me that he raped all these women
Mhm.
and they still couldn't identify him or find him or convict him, whatever it
Oh,
was. But I heard something to where he had this thing where he made sure to do it from behind so
he
they would
was,
never see his face or have a good description of, I don't know. Is that true
yeah.
or?
I saw some mentionings of that, but he was into anal sex. He didn't really care,
Mhm.
like that.
Wow.
That's what he preferred.
Mhm.
Later on, you're gonna be like blown away, because yeah, people did like report like what he looked like. So he was like, he knew that they saw him,
Oh my
you know.
gosh, he has balls the size of
he
Texas.
he did not care. He was like, whatever, you're not going to do
Dang.
anything, I'll kill you if you say anything. Like, he put the fear in these girls. And what's worse is, like, besides raping them, he would degrade them in the most god awful, despicable ways, right? And
Wow.
I read somewhere that he even, like, stomped on a girl's arm and broke it. Like, it's just like, he was violent. He was a
Oh my
violent
gosh.
predator.
Wow.
But and there's
Oh,
so much more, like, detail into these attacks, but I don't want to
yeah,
put that in anyone's head. Just know that they
exactly.
were absolutely degrading.
Ooh.
Yeah. In December of 87, the police actually issued a warning to women in that area, just to be aware of their surroundings. And they dubbed this unknown rapist with the nickname the Scarsborough Rapist. So let's put a little pin in this, because we will come back to it. So let's talk about the birth of Ken and Barbie. Yay.
Wow.
Delicious.
Barbie must have some twisted ways to be with someone like him, or he
Girl.
really did like play himself up to be this like Prince Charming. I can't wait to hear this because I can't, with what he's done already, his track
Mhm.
record, I can't imagine anyone seeing red flags the minute that you meet him.
Oh, God. No, it's so true. And
Gosh.
yeah, no. But so anyways, Paul and Karla, they met, like I said, in October of 87, and it was apparently love at first sight. He was 23 at the time. Karla was 17. They met, they were like, oh my God, you're hot. Oh my God, you're hot. And they had their first intimate encounter that same night. And it reportedly it was over 4 hours long. And why that's a known fact, they were just doing it right in front of his friend and her roommate.
Oh
And they
my
were like, are
goodness.
you guys done yet? Are you gonna hydrate soon? Are you gonna stop for some snacks? Like
For real.
who can like, and then in front
Wow.
of people. So like they don't care. So like that you can see, like, so she's 17, but she's into it.
Right. And there
And
was obviously a connection or something twisted.
well, yeah, it was like this huge meeting of the minds, like, oh my
For real.
God, soulmates.
Exactly.
But she was pretty much like, according to her former coworker and some friends, she was completely swept off her feet. He was like this super charming, successful guy who spoiled her rotten, because they kicked it off. Like they hooked up and they were like, we're together. So like they begin a relationship. He's wooing her, just making her feel like Cinderella. Her look changed. So, the blonde and the Barbie like persona, that didn't happen until after like her and Paul got together. Like he like molded her into the woman that we know now as
Hmm.
Barbie. She was very mousy, very bubbly, curly brown hair. And then she had the straight blonde, like after
Oh wow.
getting
So
with this
she
guy.
she bleached her hair to
Yeah.
accommodate him, however
Yeah.
he wished or whatever. Wow.
Exactly. And he dressed her in like, expensive clothes. He must have come from money or something. I don't know, because he was a student and he was working. He must have also had some family money or something, because he was like spending some serious money on this
Wow.
girl. So yeah, their relationship takes off like a rocket. And even though they lived a couple hours apart, or maybe an hour apart, he's in Scarsboro and she was in St. Catharines. I believe it's an hour apart.
Hmm.
He would like drive to her and see her and spend weekends charming the family into letting him
Wow.
stay over.
I mean,
And
yeah, love will do that,
love will do that. He like, the family was like, wow, he's so great. He's so successful. He's such a hard
Mm,
worker. My God, our daughter snagged a good one. So
wow.
yeah, he had them wrapped around his finger, and he eventually moves in with the family. Like, yeah, they take up
Dang.
little love nest and I think the basement.
Man, and meanwhile, they're making this love nest. He's moving to not Scarsboro, wherever they
St.
moved.
Catharines.
St. Catharines. He still hasn't been, there's no inkling of what he's been doing on
Nope.
the sidelines.
Nope. And if you pay attention to the dates, he's still committing these crimes while he's with Karla. He
Wow.
meets Karla in October of 87, and he commits the rapes between May of 87 and July 1990. So like
Now, these events, do we know, maybe we don't know, are they still in Scarsboro or have they traveled to
both.
St. Catherine? Oh, wow. Okay.
Once he moves over to her neck of the woods, the crimes move too.
Wow.
So yeah. Uh-huh. And don't worry, we're you're gonna want to like fling your microphone in a minute. So yeah, so
Oh,
he moves in, they just are in love. I want to mention that Paul had a video camera that he was absolutely obsessed with, as many people were back in the
mhm.
80s and early
We were.
90s. Hello, we would record everything. he
Exactly.
he was obsessed like that. He was rarely seen without that freaking video camera in his hand. He recorded everything. Okay,
And
even if it was just,
everyone, I'm
yeah,
sure.
even
Huh.
if it was just them hanging out in the living room or they're on trips, he's always recording her. There's just a lot of footage out there of these two and of others, like you say. So remember that.
Mm.
So yeah, so Paul and Karla are just two lovebirds sitting in the sunset. But like I said, Paul would continue to commit these crimes. He would go out at night to stalk women. Yeah, so I
That's
know
scary.
yeah, and she, you'll be like, well, doesn't she know? Okay, maybe not yet, but she will eventually. and it's not going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So just hang on to that. So we're going to jump forward just a couple of years. So from May to September of 1990, Toronto police submitted more than 130 suspect samples for DNA testing. Now, DNA testing hasn't always been, well, it's still kind of like backlogged, but like back then it was
Right.
like one guy in a lab testing
Yeah.
a lot. Okay. So just
Kind of
that
how it
comes up.
was with polyclass, even though they didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly. So there was also a composite portrait that was released. Okay, so not just a pencil thing. It was a portrait. If you look it up, Neen.
oh, I did. It
Okay. Right?
Yeah,
So
it looks just
clear
like
as
him.
day. So get ready to roll those peepers. Detectives actually received 2 tips pointing them in Paul's direction. One was in June of 1990, and it was a bank teller. So I don't know what happened. That's all I read was it was a bank employee. The other was the wife of one of Paul's good friends. Okay, from like back in the bar hopping days. Okay, maybe even earlier, but they definitely went bar hopping. So the wife shares with detectives that Paul was always talking about his sex life with her husband and that he loved rough sex. She even shared that he had been called in on a previous rape investigation back in 87, December 87, but he had never been interviewed. So I couldn't find anything online about what that previous rape investigation entailed, but I don't think it had anything to do with Scarsborough with his. But he was never interviewed. So I wanted to just mention that. Cops are like, maybe we should interview him. So they call him for an interview on November 20th of 1990. He struts in. Okay. Hey guys, how's it going?
All charming
What
and
up?
shit.
Yeah. Can I get a donut? Like, let's chill. So he's there. They chat. The cops are like, wow, this guy, he can't be a rapist. Like, he's so like educated, so well spoken. You know what? This mofo is so cocky that he even gave them, he offered up his DNA. Here,
I was going to say, he probably said, here's my DNA.
Yeah, take my
wow,
DNA.
He did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He didn't think it was a big deal. He didn't think they would ever run it. And he was right a little bit, because so that happened, right?
What?
And yeah, so because this happened November 20th, 1990. They take his DNA, and that sort of calmed them down. Like, there's no way he did this, but whatever. So like they still like, I think they sent it off eventually, but it'll be some time before it's processed. And okay. So WTF. Now we're going to move on to Christmas. Feliz Navidad. So Christmas 1990 rolls around. Paul's with the family. He's got his camcorder. It's all jolly. There's some footage available of this Christmas video. Karla's parents, they were super chill that night. And they were like, you know what? Everyone's allowed an alcoholic beverage, including her little sister, Tammy, who was 15 at the time. But they were like, they weren't telling everyone it's okay to get drunk. They, you know, like when we're younger,
Right.
you can have a glass of champagne.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
you can be a part of the festivities, you know,
exactly,
feel a little special.
Exactly. Yeah. So he wasted no time. So Paul wasted no time. He's like, I'm going to mix these drinks. So he made mixed drinks, and he mixed the out of these drinks, okay, and was plying Tammy with these drinks. As it got later on into the evening, everyone went to bed except for these 3. So they're hanging out in the family's like rec room or something. I don't think her parents caught on to the fact that she was getting drunk. I don't think so. I think maybe the parents maybe had a few. I don't think they would have gone to bed. I don't think they would have left their kid, you know, because again, they trusted Karla. They trusted Paul, because even if Paul was like a, you know, skanky mofo, Karla's there. She won't let anything happen to Tammy, right? So, so they go to sleep, and you know, they go to bed. It's all quiet. The next day, Tammy's unfortunately dead. So Yeah. Um, Karla and Paul told the parents that they kind of look over, like they're all hanging out. Maybe they doze off. I don't know what, but they look over and they see Tammy like unconscious. She had stopped breathing and she had like a lump in her throat. So they were like, maybe she choked on her vomit and died. And like I said, why would anyone think that Karla would do anything to her little sister?
Mhm.
So everyone just, they didn't think that there's anything shady going on here. So they just kind of chalked it up to Tammy had too
Wow.
much to drink. And it was just unfortunate. It was an accident. It was absolutely tragic, but this
Wow.
happened and they had to bury their youngest. And Karla appeared to be like absolutely destroyed over this, over the death of her
So
little sister.
they didn't even give her an autopsy?
Mm-mm.
They didn't even question it.
No, they just were like, she's,
Wow.
yeah.
There's so many
And
things that fell through the cracks.
oh yeah. And then there's
That's
another
awful.
thing. There was like a burn mark on her face. And I think they try to excuse it away, like saying, oh, it was like rug burn when they try to pick her up and put her to bed. But
Wow.
that wasn't explored. So hang on to that.
Goodness.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, anyways, a month later, just a month later, in February of 1991, Karla and Paul just pick up and move out of the family home into a gorgeous home that he rented for the two of them. They had this spot absolutely decked out with all like the latest back of the times. And he
Mhm.
even got her a puppy. So they looked like they were having the time of their lives, even though Karla just experienced this traumatic loss. They just seemed like unbothered. They're like, yay, life. Okay, like let's move on. So that happened.
Wow.
Yeah. About a year later, June 1991, police were notified of a missing 14-year-old girl, and her name was Leslie Mahaffey. Leslie was considered to be like a hard to handle teenager. Okay.
Mm.
She was a good kid growing up, and then you get into your teen years and she rebelled a little. She would miss her curfew. She would, I don't know, like cut class, but that's
Mhm.
considered hard to handle. So
Mhm.
the night before she disappeared, she had missed curfew. So the backstory is a friend of hers and three of her friends were killed in a car crash. And she and some other friends went to a memorial an impromptu one that they held to remember their friends, and they hung out afterwards. This girl got home hella late. Her mom was just done. She was like, you know what? She missed her freaking curfew again. She locks the door on her daughter and goes to
No.
bed. Okay.
See? Mm-mm. Wow.
Okay. So, yeah.
Shoot.
It's reported that when Leslie finally got home and realized she was locked out, she walked to a payphone and called a friend. And she asked this friend, "Can I stay over?" She's like, "No." And she's like, "Okay, well, I'll just walk back home. Somebody's bound to like hear me knocking, like I'm just going to keep knocking." The next day, her friend calls to see if Leslie made it home safe. The mom was like, "What?" Like, she wasn't really tripping up until this point. She goes looking through the house. She doesn't see her. So she freaks out a little bit and calls the police. The police roll up. Oh my God. And they're like, "Oh, she's a runaway. She'll be back. Whatever. Bye." And they left.
No. Are you serious?
Yeah. So
Oh
they
my
leave,
gosh.
and mom's like, "Oh my God." 2 weeks later, on June 29th of the same year, 1991, Paul and Karla get married. This is no chill ceremony, I tell you. This was lavish beyond words, including a freaking horse-drawn carriage. Yeah.
Dang.
One friend compares it to a royal wedding. Like
Yeah, that's
what?
what I heard too, that it was like a Princess Di kind of thing.
Yeah, like the
Wow.
freaking veil. Oh my God, the whole nine. The bridal party was humongous. It was just intense. And this entire wedding was caught on camera, of course.
Mm.
The same day, only 18 miles away, a man is just trying to have a lovely afternoon out on Lake Gibson in his canoe, a couple beers. He just wants to have a nice day. He
Mhm.
stumbles across some concrete blocks, notices that one is cracked open, and he sees blood. He
No.
bravely got closer because, girlfriend, I see some concrete. I'm out.
For
I call the
real.
cops. You figure it out. I don't want to look. But he goes to investigate it.
Wow.
And he notices, I think, a human foot inside. And
Oh no, that
then,
just gave me chills.
I know I'm freezing and I'm scared. So he calls the
No.
cops. They come and they see like more blocks, and they all have human remains in them. So through dental records, they were able to, because she had braces, they were able to determine that this was the remains of Leslie.
Mm,
Yeah. So at this
no.
point, they didn't have any suspects in mind, and they just thought that she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, like a victim of opportunity. And her case remained cold for several months. So months later, on April 16th of 1992, another girl was abducted, but in broad daylight at the entrance of a church parking lot when she's leaving school. She's in her uniform. Okay.
Wow.
This was 15-year-old Kristen French. According
Mhm.
to a handful of witnesses, there were people.
Which wouldn't
Um,
happen nowadays with the rings and all these other cameras around.
yeah,
Oh my gosh, this
yeah.
this is awful.
No, this is, I mean, both of them are
It just gets
horrendous.
worse and worse.
It's gonna get worse, so just get a
Oh
blanket.
my god.
So, according to a handful of witnesses, yeah, so two people were in the car. There, all these people that witnessed this confirmed that they saw two people who pulled up to the girl. In a blink of an eye, it looked like she had been pulled into the car and they took off before anyone has a chance to react. They're gone. The cops show up and they find one of her shoes and other items just kind of like thrown. Oh, and Kristen's family and friends, they worked so hard next to the police to get the word out about Kristen. Literally, it's so freaking heartbreaking because her dad, oh my God, like giving these press conferences and he's
Mm.
talking directly to her. Like,
Oh,
Christy, the cops are working so hard to find you. We're going to find you soon. Like, I can't.
how heartbreaking.
So sadly,
Wow.
there is no happy ending for her because on April 30th, 1992, her body was found lying in a ditch. She was naked and her head had been shaved.
Mm.
Um,
Oh
like
my
with Leslie,
gosh.
yeah. And so there weren't any leads. So just like Leslie. Um, but apparently somebody called the police and gave Paul's name as a possible suspect. This
Hmm.
person was actually a friend of Paul's. We don't know who this person is.
Interesting.
Are you ready though? Are you prepared? Okay. Let's jump in. This
Nothing's
pisses me
nothing
off.
surprising me with this case because I
This
can't prepare for
Yeah.
nothing. I think I know, and then you throw me a curveball.
Mm.
So,
Oh my God.
what is
The
it?
the cops trot on down to Paul's house and they question him. And I think they question Karla too. But again, they're convinced that he's a nice guy and in no way, shape, or form is he a rapist.
Okay.
WTF.
See. Okay. And now, I'm sorry, and I hate to bring this kind of stuff up, but if Paul didn't look like he did, and Paul had a tan, with
Mhm.
some dark hair, okay,
Mhm.
his ass would have already been, in a lineup.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
mean,
if you and me were walking down the street and who are they going to question?
not the girl with the the knife with blood coming off of it.
No, the cute little bangs and the giggle, of course not.
Oh my gosh, this is awful.
It's awful and Buck, it's gonna get worse. And that's stuff I
Ugh.
didn't even include details. So like a lot. Oh, one
Wow.
one really gross thing, not gross, but creepy and annoying. After the cops went to their house for this like impromptu interview, um, Paul and Karla went to change their last names to Teal after a serial killer's character in the 1980s movie Criminal Law. I don't know why they did that, but really?
So tell me this, because like in the past, some of the well, yeah, some of the cases that we've heard about, you hear like, did Paul have obsessions with, serial killers or killers in general? Like, like a lot of these people that you find out, they have this obsession. They're intrigued by all this stuff.
I couldn't find anything to that effect. He was mostly like obsessed with like sadistic rape. Like that's what he was into. That was his thing, was
I mean, and
sex.
what's wrong with Paula? Like, I'm sorry.
Karla.
I mean, I mixed them both.
That's their
But
benefit. Yeah.
um, what's wrong with her? Like, red flag, red flag. And not only that, but your art, now she's in the thick of it. She's committing these things with him. And like, what part is she gonna be like, it's kind of like, that fog when you first fall in love with someone. Obviously, she was they were both obsessed with each other, right? But she was very enamored by him, like, oh my gosh, at what part, Karla, are you gonna wake up and be like, oh my god, he's a killer and he's bringing me along for the ride, and now I'm just as guilty as he is because I know everything he's doing.
I
Like,
mean, you're about to get
doesn't
really
think
pissed.
that this is wrong.
Or is she a willing participant?
Yeah,
That's what we're gonna, yeah, hang on tight, Neen. You're gonna be so mad.
I can't.
So
Wow. When they dyed her hair and they bleached it, all of her brain cells went out with their color.
I agree.
Karla needs help. I'm
No.
irritated because this is ridiculous.
Neen, you're gonna get so much more mad than you are right now. And just yeah. So January of 93 rolls around and Karla shows up to work covered in bruises and black eyes. Okay, so like she's pretty like banged up. She tried to play it off like she was in a car accident, but her coworkers were like, because I guess over time they started to get turned off by Paul. He would be like really controlling towards her, calling her at work, expecting her to drop what she was doing to take his calls. This also wasn't the first time that she showed up with injuries that she tried to make excuses for. But this time, her coworkers called her parents and they came and took her to the hospital to be checked out. I saw the photo. I'm sure you saw the photo of her with the black eyes that was taken at the hospital. It's horrible. When she's there, she changes her story. So she's no longer the victim of a car crash. She's actually the victim of domestic violence at the hands of her husband. She files charges against Paul, and she told them he had beaten her really severely, like almost a week or more prior to her going to the hospital. Because this was like a day or two after Christmas. And then it wasn't until January that she goes to the hospital. So, yeah, so he's arrested. Yeah.
So those bruises were from 2 weeks prior?
Or a week prior, I should say.
Oh my gosh. So he beat her to a pulp.
Yeah, he used a flashlight with it when he was doing it. It was pretty violent. I mean, it just shows how violent he is. So he gets arrested like pretty quickly after the charges were filed, but then he was released on his own recognizance, which pisses me off, but whatever. Karla gets out of Dodge and goes to stay with her relatives, and she just starts talking. She tells them that Paul is none other than the Scarsboro rapist, and that she and Paul were responsible for the murders of Kristen and Leslie. So she tells them. And the way she tells it means she's all, oh, he forced me. I had to do it or else, he would kill me. Like I was under his control. I had no choice. She even tells her relatives that there are videos of Paul torturing and raping the girls. And she'll later tell the police. So she mentions videos. Okay, let's just say that.
But what about Tammy?
We'll get to that. Because
I'm like, okay, that's your sister.
No, it's until later. So, Neen, that's, yeah. So right around this time, she needs to go to the house, right? And she's frantically looking for something, but she doesn't find it and she's pissed. So remember that. Okay. And I'm giving you a lot of things to remember, but remember that she goes to the house. She can't find what she's looking for. She's pissed. So yeah. She at this point is clearly done with Paul and ready to tell the whole story. But first, she hires an attorney to request a full immunity. The balls this woman has, full immunity in exchange for her cooperation. It was
Wow.
denied. They were like, no, but she was presented with a ridiculous plea bargain. 12 years in exchange for her testifying against Paul is what the plea bargain was.
Wow.
Okay. So Karla goes to the police and she's playing the role of the victim of domestic violence and tells them that Paul is a monster, which he is. And also, she was a victim of domestic violence. So I'm not trying to dismiss that part.
Right.
But
Did
I
he
also
did he beat her up before? I can't remember. Maybe you said that. Was there domestic violence before they got married
I
that
think
we
it
know of?
started after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was like wooing and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So um so she's playing the role of like victim at this point. She tells the police that Paul would go out at night and stalk women, young women, because his ultimate dream or his perverse fantasy was to have sex slaves at his beck and call. Like he wanted this. She told police that Paul kidnapped Leslie right outside her home during one of these late night drives. She claims to have been sleeping when she was woken up by Paul, who tells her, "Oh, don't worry, honey. I just have a girl in the basement. Go back to sleep." Without going too much into detail, because it's really, 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 really heavy, Paul essentially made his dream of having a sex slave come true. He raped and beat Leslie. She was a teenager. Did all kinds of things to her and had the audacity to record everything so he could relive this over and over again.
Wow.
And when he was done, hours later, Karla claims that Paul strangled her to death. A very, very disturbing thing to note. Karla had her family over for Father's Day to have dinner or brunch or something like that. And this is caught on film, by the way. So camera.
Wow.
Her mom tried going down the basement to get something and they were like, whoa, let me do it. And the reason why they were like, whoa, don't go down there. Like, I'll get it. Leslie's body was downstairs.
Oh my, but she wasn't alive.
No. She was already dead. And in the video footage, Karla is like smiling away. And Paul, who's recording, is just chipper. Yay, like happy Father's Day.
See, that pisses me off because, okay, yes, she struck a plea deal, right? But the thing is like now you see this and you see how she's acting in these videos. And it's just like, can they reverse that? Or that's
everyone's question at the end of this. So hold on, because that was all of Canada.
Yeah.
And also the video right now that I'm referencing, it's the home movies. It's like just the regular, like run of the mill, like vanilla movies. So once the family leaves on Father's Day, they're like, bye everyone, we're gonna go. Paul and Karla got to work on dismembering Leslie's body with a circular saw. And then they put her in those concrete blocks and dumped her like nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So again, according to Karla, she was forced to do this. Like she was a victim or else she's going to be killed. So that she had no choice. So after this, Paul's like, you know what? I want you to come with me to find my next sex slave. And she tells police that they had come up with a plan, that they were going to be driving around and she was going to act like she needed directions. And while she had the girl distracted, Paul could easily snatch her and put her in the car. So that's what happened with Kristen. She acted like she needed directions. She got out of the car. She has a map. Who's going to question a harmless looking woman who was like, hey, how do I get here?
Right.
I know I will from now on, like figure it out.
Exactly.
But, yeah. So they were, while she's like asking her to help her with the map, Paul comes up from behind her and puts a sweatshirt over her head and shoves her in the car.
Wow.
Karla tells the police that Paul recorded the beatings, the rapes, the torture. Ugh, like
Wow.
it's just awful. And they also forced her to drink a lot of alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
like to keep her like subdued and just out of it. And then Karla shares that Paul tied Kristen up with the same electrical cord that he used to strangle Leslie with. So it's like this thing he had. When he
Mm.
was done with Kristen, he like, yeah, so he strangles her and shaves her hair off because
Wow.
to avoid her being recognized. Okay, they can still see her face, but whatever. So they
Exactly.
tie,
Oh.
they do that and they toss her naked body in a ditch like she was nothing. Oh my gosh, we have hit the 1 hour mark and we still have some more to go. Can you still like I should be able to wrap it up soon, but we're still here.
Yeah, that's okay. Bear with us. It's okay.
Okay. Anyway,
Wow.
so we're in
And
February
you
of
didn't even
90.
go into major detail.
No,
That's
no, I
crazy.
should have said this was a two-parter, but um bonus. Okay, so
Hmm.
February 17th, 1993, Paul is picked up for the murders of Kristen and Leslie, and a search warrant is issued to search the house from top to bottom for these freaking tapes. The they had to, this was something where if they found the tapes in that house, because the warrant just covered the house, they had to watch the tapes in the house, which I thought was weird, but okay.
Hmm.
But they ended up not finding the tapes. So they were like, oh, we don't have the tapes, but we have Karla. So they're
Hmm.
hanging on to the fact that they have Karla, but it's her word against Paul's.
Yeah,
And
for
right
real.
now, she's a battered wife. Why would she, like we should believe her.
And is that what she was looking for?
Yeah. We will later find out that yeah, she was probably looking
Really?
for those tapes.
Do you think she was trying to bring them as evidence to, or do you think
Mm-mm.
she was trying to, oh, so she wouldn't incriminate herself? Or,
Exactly.
I mean, proof is in the pudding. Oh my gosh.
Yep. And right around this time, oh, hold on. You asked me earlier about Paul's DNA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Around this time, which is 2 years later, it's finally tested. And the police were able to
2 years
find
later.
2 years. And the police were like,
Okay.
oh my God, Paul is the Scarsboro rapist. Wow, that nice, good looking guy. So
Okay.
let's all go ahead and do a collective eye roll because
Yeah.
one, it took forever to test it. And two, so much could have been avoided because the police were told Paul is sketchy. Look at him.
Yeah, and the freaking drawing is Paul. It looks
Ugh.
just like him.
Oh
Look
my
it up,
God.
people. It is a spitting image.
Yeah, it's just baffling. So there's that. So the cops are just on a roll. They're doing a great job. They should just keep doing what they're doing because what the hell. So at this point, Karla knows the police don't have the tapes yet. So she keeps presenting herself as a victim and she's forced to do everything. Oh my God. There's footage of her. So like she's acting that way. And then she'll act different, kind of
Mhm.
weird. Like
Right.
there's footage of her going to the house, I guess, to like show the cops. I don't know what.
Mhm.
She's
I
wearing a
saw
freaking
that.
schoolgirl uniform, right?
Mhm.
And she's all, can I have that book? Are you guys really damaged our living room? Like she's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, very weird and kind of like something about like, "Oh, what happened to this?" or like
Mhm.
weird stuff. And she was kind of playing this role of like this like innocent, clueless, damsel.
Yes.
Uh-uh. No, you weren't, sister. Ugh.
But at the same time, so she's like acting like all kinds of crazy. She also was like, you know what? Kristen had to be murdered because we had Easter dinner at my family's house that day. So she had to go. Yeah.
Wow.
Like heartless AF.
But yet on these tapes, it shows that she obviously already knows that oh my gosh. There's like
Yep.
this is ridiculous.
It's about to get more crazy. So, May 1993, Karla's plea bargain is finalized. So now she's untouchable, right? It wasn't, it was, so like the plea is signed, everything's ready to go, but the
Oh,
trial hasn't started yet, right?
okay,
Now,
hold up. This is going to be a 2 hour show. Because real quick about this. Okay, you say it was finalized, but they've already realized that Karla's crazy. And Karla is having all these, there's a lot of situations and information that's coming up that is very incriminating. And they still finalize it?
yes, they had a deal put in place and it took some time to finalize, but
Okay.
it wasn't until after that
Mm.
they find out what her true role in these crimes were, courtesy of the tapes. So Paul calls his attorney. He's like, yo, I got some tapes hid in the ceiling. You got to grab them real quick. So he had
Wow.
them in the ceiling of the bathroom, hidden. The attorney goes, snatches them, and holds on to them. So hang on.
Hmm.
Karla goes to trial, her own trial, June 28th of 1993, and is sentenced to 12 years, right? So she has 5 years for Kristen, 5 years for Leslie, 2 years for her sister's life, two. And her plea, the agreement, the statements she gave, they were all covered by a publication ban. And so that Paul could get a fair trial. So like the
Mhm.
media, they
Right.
weren't aware of what was going on.
They weren't exposed to it.
And nobody knew yet because about the extent of her involvement, because the attorney hung onto those tapes because he was like, you know what, these tapes, they're gold. They're gonna like
Mm-hmm.
show like her in a whole new light.
Mm-hmm.
But he
It doesn't
essentially,
matter at that point, right?
right, but well, so September, so a few months later, September 94, Paul's lawyer quits out of the blue. He's like, I have had it. I've just had enough. He
Mm-hmm.
hands over the tapes to Paul's new lawyer. He watches the tapes and decides to turn it over to the police. He has to. You
Yeah,
have to.
exactly. Why would he hold on to that?
And yeah, and I'm not going to go into full blown detail because we'll be here all night, and two,
Mm-hmm.
it's too violent.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that it shows Leslie and Kristen being brutally, brutally raped and tortured. But it also shows Tammy, Karla's little sister, being raped. What makes this even worse is
Wow.
that Karla is in these tapes and she's not cowering in a corner. She's actively participating and raping all of these girls, including her sister.
Oh my God. That
Yeah.
is insane. What a bitch.
No, and there's also a
Ugh.
tape. You're so funny.
I'm
There's also a
sorry.
tape of Karla and Paul raping an unconscious teen who
Mm.
the police call Jane Doe. We still don't know who this is, but Jane Doe
Wow.
turned out to be 15 years old, and I think she worked at the pet store with Karla, and Karla like befriended her. Um and would
Oh
have
my
her
God.
over.
And they still don't know who she is? Or
She
maybe they
asked
do
to
by now.
be
Oh, okay. Anonymous or
yeah, and she's
oh.
still like, we still don't know the true identity of who she is because the court like cleared the courtroom, like the judge cleared the room. Nobody knows who she is, and her mom testified too. And
Oh, so this
she's,
girl's still alive.
yes.
Okay, gotcha. But ay ay ay.
So they yeah, they would get her drunk and they would rape her. And there's this particular rape shows how evil Karla was, because she seemed to be the one in control of the whole thing. And one of the documentaries I saw referenced a clip of her looking up into the camera and smiling while
Hmm.
raping the teen. So she's smiling and
Oh
committing
my
this for,
gosh.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. See, but that is so sick because you know that Karla was like, Paul's gonna be looking at this. Let
yeah.
me give him what he wants, you know?
No.
Ooh, see? Mm-mm.
And then, so now the truth comes out about Tammy's death. So she didn't choke on her own vomit after drinking too much. She was drugged by Karla. So remember that burn?
Mm-hmm.
So apparently Karla stole some, oh, how do I say this? Halothane, I think is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. It's like some drug that's
Like
used to,
anesthesia.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not supposed to put it on skin because it'll
Mm-hmm.
burn you.
Mm-hmm.
Karla claims she held it like this. Can you see? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't cause a burn like that.
Exactly. Oh my
So
gosh.
she was drugged by her own sister so that Karla could gift Tammy's virginity to Paul because Paul was into Tammy.
Oh my
He would
goodness.
talk about Tammy to Karla and all that. So
Wow.
while she's unconscious, Paul's raping her, and Karla he tells Karla to perform oral sex on her, and she does.
No. Stop it right now. Are you serious?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh.
and
That is her baby sister.
yeah, and her baby sister who looked up to her, and she ends up dying because of the drug and the alcohol combination. Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. Okay. Now I'm pissed. I'm
Yep.
pissed. Okay. I'm just going to wait. I better hear at the end of the story that
No,
Karla, I can't. I
you're
can't.
going to be so angry. So Paul's trial didn't start until May of 1995. At this point, the public ban was lifted and it became like this crazy high profile case. And it is Canada's trial of the century. That's what they called it.
Mm-hmm.
So Paul's defense was Karla was the one that carried out the murders. He
Of
was like, you
course.
know what? I'm a serial violent rapist. I am, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I did not want to kill these girls. They were blindfolded. He didn't see a point in killing them. So why do it? Like just let them go. But Paul said that Karla was the one that wanted them dead. And since the murders were not on tape, it was their word against each other.
Oh, wow. So that
Yeah.
was never documented.
No, the actual murder, no.
Interesting.
So one thing that is like, mm, the tapes were played in court so the jury could, yeah,
No. Oh
so the
my
jury could see the
gosh.
contents and understand what they were dealing with. Only the jury was allowed to view it though. So
Ugh.
you have a courtroom full of people. The TV is just facing the jury.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else that was in there was listening just to the audio. And
Oh, I have chills. Like literally, that is so
I know I'm
awful.
freezing.
Ugh.
The parents, the girls were there, and Leslie's mom was like, "No, I want to be there. I have to be there."
Mm-hmm.
And she stayed the whole time and listened to their babies screaming.
No, and that is something they will never get out of their head ever. I don't think, no, that's just, that's terrifying. That's just sickening.
No, and what's sickening is the media. They were trying so hard to get their hands on these tapes because they were like, the public has a right to see. What? No, they don't.
Yeah, they don't. Oh my gosh. And that's a
No.
question I have for later in regards to that stuff. But that's disgusting. Wow.
Yeah.
See? See? Mm-mm. No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Keep going. I'm just so irritated. Mm.
So there's another video that was played in court, and this one shows the kind of person Karla truly is. It's a video that was recorded after her little sister's death. Karla, are you ready? Karla's wearing Tammy's clothes, wearing her hair like she had worn it,
No.
talking to Paul, mimicking her sister's voice, and they have sex. And she's pretending she's Tammy.
What? Okay. You know what? I mean, Paul's sick and twisted,
She's,
but she is just as bad. Just as bad.
yeah, that was like the ultimate. So, because Tammy was a victim, Karla's mom actually testified in the proceedings. But everyone was like, okay, we're going to see some light being shed on why
Mm-hmm.
Karla's like this. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Mm-hmm.
was she a battered wife? The mom was like, I had no idea about the
Right.
controlling, about the abuse. Karla would go on trips with friends. She had her own money. Like, no, like as far as she knew, her daughter was okay. Like it wasn't until that,
Hmm.
the day that she took her to the hospital that she had like an inkling. So
So when did the mom find out about Tammy?
the truth about Tammy when everyone else found out.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
when this
when
tape.
so when Karla confessed, to her parents after she went to the hospital. She didn't mention it until later.
Hmm.
Wow.
Exactly.
Mm-mm-mm.
Like,
I
whoops, I
hope her
forgot.
mother was pissed.
Well, she appeared to be like nonchalant, but I'm sure she was numb. I mean, like her daughter doing this to her other daughter, what the fuck? So she didn't give any insight as to why Karla would do any of this, like anything, to, especially to her own sister.
Yeah.
Whew. But Karla testifies against Paul too. She's the star witness. And she maintains that he was the one who murdered the girls, and she was just the victim forced to participate out of fear that Paul would hurt her. She was
Mhm.
in that witness box, Neen, for 17 days.
Dang, 17 days. Whoa.
Yep. And let's just say, after the tapes were played and Karla's testimony, the jury pretty much hated her.
Wow.
All of Canada hated her. And they were
Mm-mm.
pissed that she had this deal. Because again, all this came out, the truth came out. She has her sentence set though. She
Yeah,
could just
exactly. What does
chill.
she have to lose at this point?
Yeah.
Hell, I mean, she could say she murdered them
Mm-hmm.
and it wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter. It's kind of like double jeopardy in a way, like where, yeah, which I'll never
That's
get.
infuriating. I just,
So yeah,
mm-mm.
no. So the jury deliberates and Paul is found guilty on all the counts. He's sentenced to life in prison and is currently rotting in a maximum security prison in Ontario. And Karla, as we mentioned, was sentenced to 12 years. She completed that. The public, including the parents of the murdered girls, were rightfully pissed and just offended
Mm-hmm.
that she got such a light sentence. It wasn't fair. But the truth of the matter is they didn't have the tapes when they agreed to that plea. I'm not saying they should have done it to begin with, but they were desperate to put someone away and they were
Right.
grasping at straws. So I can understand a little bit, but it does suck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Karla completed her sentence. She even earned a college degree while in jail and was released in July of 2005. She's still alive and went on to have 3 kids with her new husband. And they are all living in Quebec or Quebec under a new identity. And
Wow.
it should be noted that even though she changed her name and moved, this case followed her everywhere. Like I saw video footage of her taking her kids to school and the paparazzi was there and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's like, she's a murderer. I mean, I feel bad for the
Wow.
kids,
Exactly.
but
But,
she's,
but what kind of man would marry her? But then again, what kind of people, have relationships with people in prison? But, he obviously he knew what she did.
yeah,
And okay. I just, wow.
no,
Like you
she's,
didn't, I
yeah,
don't
no,
know.
she's a pariah and she's never going to have a peaceful life because she'll
No.
always be known as this
Mm-hmm.
evil human being. And
Wow.
yeah, that's the case of the Ken and Barbie murders.
That is a lot to unfold. That
Yeah.
is just so mind blowing to me on so many levels. There's this picture though,
Yeah.
and that her eyes and that
She's
to
so
me
dead.
says everything. You know? I just I can't I can't. I don't even know where to start. But I do have a question for you. So now that we know everything pretty much that transpired, what was it? Because this honestly, like I said in the beginning, this was the first time I ever heard about this case. And after doing some research on it myself, I was just like, holy crap. I mean, do you remember when we were younger hearing about this?
No, I didn't hear about it until I was like in my 30s, I want to say.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what was it about this case that just intrigued you? Like, I don't want to say, that makes you love it so much, but what is it about it that, like you said, this is one of your favorites per se, if.
You know what? I just feel like because it's a couple, maybe, and just the fact that they were able to, I don't, they were like, I don't want to say Bonnie and Clyde, but a little
Mhm.
bit.
Right.
Um, it's very rare. Like
Mhm.
I think just the rarity, like, that she I didn't mention this, but he told her that he was the Scarsboro rapist on their wedding night, like
Wait, so he actually confessed to
to
her?
her. Yeah.
I thought that she just kind of, like,
Made it
because I
up.
had heard accounts where he, and I think you mentioned it maybe, but that he joked about that with her.
I
And
did too.
I didn't know that he actually told her that.
Yeah. I read in several places that he told her on their wedding night.
Dang. See,
Yeah.
okay.
So like
Yeah.
that was just like that, all of that
Like
intrigued
what
me.
what what would you do if Kara told you that?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Don't even talk like that. I don't know. Like, cause
Like think about it. Like you love Kara so much. So much. And she tells you this for better for worse.
well, that's why they have that thing where you can't testify against your spouse,
Mhm.
spousal privilege.
Right.
So I guess I'd have to take that with me to the grave
Mhm. Yeah.
unless I waive my right. What would you do?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think that could I love you, Tony. But I don't know if that's something that I could
Live with?
live with. I think that I would have to tell. I mean, at least put it out there,
Yeah.
because I feel like lack of like telling anybody makes you just as guilty.
A hundred
Withholding
percent.
that information,
A 100%.
I
So
just,
much could have been
oh,
done had
hmm,
she opened her freaking trap to
yeah.
begin with. I mean,
Mhm.
Leslie and Kristen would still be alive.
Oh, totally. I mean, to me, I feel like so many balls were dropped. The
Oh
DNA
yeah.
thing, how
Oh
it
yeah.
took 2 years, the fact that, obviously they were treating him like a privileged white man,
Hmm.
who played the part, and it's funny, I read somewhere too, and I don't know if you heard this, where um Canada wasn't the one that came up with the Ken and Barbie um uh you know what is it? Whatever name for
Moniker.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the US that came up
Doesn't
with it.
surprise me.
Yeah, and I was like, gosh, it doesn't surprise me at all because the US is infatuated with putting, like you said, labels on people or
It
making them.
glorifies.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
disgusting. I mean, I just don't understand how even with the law and how this
Mhm.
went about, it kind of makes me feel like, oh, okay, because I do feel like in the United States, doesn't matter which state we are in, the laws should be the same. The punishments should be the same, whether you
Mhm.
commit the crime in Montana or Florida. If you kill someone, you get the same amount of years, right? It shouldn't matter which state you're in. And I guess it just proves that in Canada,
Yeah.
there are things that need to be fixed. And hopefully maybe, I don't know if that happened with this case, but maybe not strike a plea deal until you know the full aspect of the freaking case.
I also think, but that and like maybe they just thought they were never going to find these tapes because so much time passed between the moment she said
Yeah.
there's tapes until the tapes landed in the police's
And
hands.
they were so desperate to
They were
like,
put him away.
yeah. And that could totally be. I just find that so disturbing on so many levels.
Oh
And
yeah.
the fact that she is walking around, she's still alive. I
Oh
think
yeah.
they said she's like 52 years old right now.
Exactly.
I can. So I have another question. So when it comes to the discovery,
Hmm.
and you know a lot about this, um, because you hear things or you see things like any case that we see, obviously, um, what was it like it wasn't really a crime, but like Kobe Bryant when he passed away, the pictures,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Just like with these tapes, when they go, where do they put them? And can the public ever get their hands on these things, or are they like sealed forever? And is there a time frame as to, because like 40, 50, 100 years down the road, I
Now
mean,
you're
where
talking
are
about,
these things going to go?
are you talking about all of the documents of the case or just the videotape?
Just the videos, like things like that could be, because you don't want those out in public.
exactly. So they actually, I think there was something filed to the judge to destroy the tapes.
Mhm.
And they actually already, they were destroyed, I want to say in the early 2000s. So they don't
Oh,
exist
that's good.
anymore. And the parents were like interviewed after, and they said, now they can rest because
Mhm.
no more eyes will watch them being degraded in the way that they were.
Yeah, no, for real. Because you think about stuff, I think about stuff like that, like this, or like I said, like with the Kobe case, although it was someone, that took
Yeah.
pictures without their knowledge and shouldn't have and wasn't supposed to, but things always get leaked somehow.
Definitely. Well, when you're holding on to like stuff like that, you have to keep it in your office. At least, like the places I've worked, you have to
Right,
keep them, you can't take them out of the building, and
right.
you have to know who has the stuff. And then
Mhm.
you destroy the files after a certain amount of years. So I
Mhm.
think that's what happened with this case, and they were never made available to the public. So that's why we can't see it online.
Thank God.
Yeah.
My
But yeah, you're
gosh.
right. And Joe Schmo, who works at the law firm, could easily confiscate. So
Hmm.
I hope they
Yeah,
have.
I mean, that makes, because people are evil or people want money or people want to be that person to,
Oh, yeah.
and I mean, who's to say someone can't just make a copy of it? You know what I mean? It's just,
Ex-
it's good
Oh,
to know
excuse
that
me.
there's something that protects
Yes.
like the family and the victims because that's so disturbing. Stuff like that. I mean, to see those things, I mean, just for them to have, I mean, those jurors and
Yeah.
everybody in that courtroom that at least had to hear it, that is something, I mean, I was at my cousin's when he passed away, not at, well, after, and I heard the wailing of his wife crying. And to this day, I could still hear her crying, you know, and the gut wrenching,
I remember
you
you
know,
telling me
and
that.
it's just like something I will never forget. And that's just, over her husband passing. I can't imagine something like that.
A lot of the jurors, because I did see a couple interviewed, and then I also saw the interview of the paralegal or legal assistant of Paul's defense attorney who had to watch the tapes.
Mm,
She couldn't even get it out without crying. She goes, I can't even listen to the word tape without it
wow. See,
just bringing me back to that place. She goes, I will never forget what I witnessed. And like one of the jurors was like, I finally allowed my husband to hold me again
wow.
after so much time. So
Mm,
it stays with you. I cannot imagine going into that type of law. I wouldn't be able to do it.
mm-mm. No, and honestly, I mean, my mom worked for the DA's office for a long time, and understand now because my mom even said the stuff that she would hear, the stuff that she witnessed, the crimes that she had to hear about ruined her, not just from the DA's office, but also because my dad was a police officer. So hearing all these things, about things that can happen, that have happened, I understand more so now, not just because she's, Mexican, how protective
Yeah.
she is. It was more so because of the stuff that she's heard and
Oh, yeah.
witnessed. And I don't think that we give attorneys, um, clerks, I mean, judges, enough credit when they have to hear these things day in and day out about the things and crimes that they hear and have to witness.
Hmm.
Because I mean, hell, hearing just this case, and we didn't
Yeah.
even go into major detail. That is something that I will never forget. Like these are things that are just awful.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't hear like when I worked in immigration law for all those years, I had to leave because of all the things that I witnessed and had to research and like the
Mm-hmm.
different like torture and asylum claims and stuff. So I understand that third party trauma.
Yes.
I can't imagine on a criminal level, like or like family cases.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Can't do it. Can't do it because I
No.
have this thing where my memory, it just like it takes a picture and then it
Mm-hmm.
stays with you. So I know exactly what these people are talking about when they're like, I can't hear the word tape. So
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yes, exactly.
yeah.
Now you understand the reason why there's the whole thing of triggers, you
Yep.
know, and dealing with or ha- being around people that have dealt with traumas. I
Mhm.
understand more so now, especially as I'm getting older, the importance of warning people ahead of time. Little things that you may not realize, can trigger things in people. And a lot of people just brush it off and they don't understand the heaviness of it, but it's huge. um Listening though to this case and your account of this, like, to me what opened my eyes a lot is that it proves the craziness that a child goes through when they're little, how it trickles and
Yeah.
affects them as they get older. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, if you look at, what is it, Richard Allen Davis,
Hmm.
and you look at Paul and you
Hmm.
see how their childhood was,
Hmm.
and all these killers, like, there's a pattern a lot of times where they came from a broken home, or they, had trauma of their own that was not dealt with. And I know that I was reading with Paul that, with sodomy, that they were saying that a lot of times when children witness that,
Yeah.
it's and they end up doing those type of crimes later on, there was some sort of proven fact that they had either were a victim of it when they were younger, or they had witnessed it firsthand, because it's not something that is very prevalent, but there's a pattern, and it just
Yeah.
shows that, gosh, when we don't realize as parents sometimes that little things or things that we do really affects our children, whether it
Oh
be big
yeah.
or small. I mean,
Such a good point, Neen.
it's just so scary because a lot of times people, especially parents, don't realize, they think that their kids don't
God.
understand stuff, and they don't think that their kids can hear. But how many times were you in another room and you could still hear your parents talking about stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel
Or
like
they
people
think
don't
they're
give kids enough
asleep.
credit.
Yes, exactly. And it's so terrifying. And I just feel like we as parents need to be advocates for our children, and that mother,
Hmm.
because boyfriend had a major obsession with stuff from the
That,
get-go.
that was apparent. It was
Hmm.
like he might
Was
as well have been holding a sign that lit up. I
was he
have
ever,
issues.
yeah, I mean, was he ever caught for being a peeping Tom when he was younger? Or
I
is
think so
this just
since
a fact that came out later on? And
definitely came out later. But
wow.
yeah, I mean, this guy, he literally almost got away with murder.
Yeah, for real. And I mean, and obviously he's still alive in
Yes.
prison, rotting.
Yep.
So, real quick, one more question. Did Kara, what was her, did you talk to her about this case at all?
I did, and I actually made her watch the documentary, one of the documentaries. There's a lot, there's even like movies made about
Mm-hmm.
this case. Poor little baby had a nightmare. She had heard of it
Oh,
at the, because
yeah, because I
Canadian
mean, she was in the thick
case.
of it. I
Yeah.
mean, living there.
Yeah, she had heard of it, but she didn't like pay too much attention. Just it was an awful case.
Mm-hmm.
But we watched, it was literally my fourth time watching this documentary because it was done so well.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, oh my God, like she had a nightmare and it just bothered her. And I'm like, yeah, because innocent teenager, girls,
Mm-hmm.
her sister, like Jesus Christ. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's devastating on all. I mean, there's nothing, there really is no way you could go about it. Like, she is evil. And honestly, I feel bad for her children,
I do too.
because I'm sorry, there's really no way around it. The proof is in the pudding.
Hmm.
You witness that the first time, you're out of there. Oh my
Hmm.
God. And I'm running to the police and being like, oh my God, my husband, I just witnessed this.
Yeah.
And for your children to look back and know that your mother was part of that,
Mm.
I'm sorry. It's just sickening, and it's just so scary and sad and just terrifying.
Yeah, it's
And I would like to
definitely.
know how many other people in Canada got away with stuff because of the
Mm,
DNA thing and how it was, they were lagging on,
mhm.
2 years. I just find that crazy. 2 years when they could have just arrested him, they would have found out, and, you know,
No,
things would have been a lot different. Maybe
yeah.
he wouldn't even have met, well, he probably would have met Karla, but you never know. Like,
All because he looked like a nice guy.
yeah,
Good old
that's,
Ken.
see, and
Ken
that
and
just
Barbie.
and that just proves that when you, like, looks are deceiving, when you're in
Yeah.
love with someone, hmm, sometimes there are just these big ass blinders on that you don't want to see anything, even though you know it, because you're so infatuated with someone that you
Yeah.
just aren't, you could care less. And
Yeah.
that's where it gets dangerous. And that's what happened here.
Exactly.
Ugh. I'm I can't. I'm gonna go tell Tony about this.
You're so cute. I knew. I
So
know it.
annoyed.
I wanted to throw things so many times, but we
Yeah.
we got through it. I hope that I don't want to say I hope you guys enjoyed listening, but I just we wanted to share it.
I know. I mean,
The
how
one
else
of the
do you go
most
about it?
Yeah, it's one of the most notorious cases out there. And go hug a puppy right now or something. Go
Yes.
get
Some have some ice cream or something. And but for sure, like, I don't know. If you're in a relationship, that's where I'm going to end it here. If you're in a relationship and there's red flags, listen to the red flags and don't be so blind. Go in, if there's an inkling, trust it. I'm sorry. I don't care how cute. And he ain't even cute.
No.
Neither one of them were. They're hot messes
That's the
who
only hot
over
they are.
freaking bleached their hair.
Coming from a
Yes,
hairstylist.
because even he bleached his damn hair because his hair's brown.
Yeah.
Ugh,
She said.
sick.
I mean, that's the cutest way to end a horrific hour and a half. Thank you guys for hanging with us. You
Yes,
guys are
thank you so much.
you're witnessing Neen at her ultimate cuteness when she's pissed. So you're welcome.
Yes, I'm flabbergasted, but you did a phenomenal job, Steph, and I can't wait
Thank
till our
you.
next episode of
Um,
90s Crime Talk with Steph.
Okay, I gotta come up with the theme song. But anyways, thank you for chatting with
Oh,
me, Neen. I loved your
oh,
questions.
no, thank you.
Loved your anger, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Oh, yeah. Peace out, buddy.